I want to also discuss your recent article on disgraced referee Tim Donaghy, former NBA referee, back in 2007. And I don't know, most people remember Tim Donaghy. He was betting on games that he officiated. The Donaghy incident definitely left a lot of fans wondering, going back to what we discussed earlier, if these games are legitimate. And you start questioning that, as fans, as you're watching these games, a little foul here, little foul there. Also calls that may 50-50 calls that may be swayed. The Donaghy incident definitely kind of opened that door of, some nefarious activity within the game that most fans have always wondered about, but always kind of set aside and say, we'll give them the benefit of that. But the Donaghy incident that definitely opened that door. So I wanted to, you had a really good piece on Donaghy.
Thank you.
And you also mentioned earlier the line you had, and I definitely agree with it, that basketball is easily manipulated. And this is another prime example where one referee, can either manipulate the spread or swing a game towards another team.
Right. And this, David Stern, as you mentioned, great commissioner, but he called this the worst, most serious situation he had ever dealt with. You're basically putting the integrity of the game at stake. If people don't think that players are trying their best and that the refs are calling fouls objectively, the sport ceases to exist if that's the case. And with Tim Donaghy, the FBI had been investigating him. Basically he was involved with some gamblers. And I'll point out, at this point in almost 20 years ago, sports gambling was only legal in basically Las Vegas, Nevada, and not elsewhere. Things have changed greatly since then, and I'm happy to discuss that too.
Mm-hmm.
But Tim Donaghy, this was just an amazing scandal. He had been a longtime ref. He wasn't just some new guy some rookie. He had been, I think, refed about 800 games, including playoffs. The FBI had these accusations. And I'm going to share something that I'm just going to take a quote from my article.
Mm-hmm.
That players had noticed some bizarre calls that he had made. And like Rasheed Wallace, during a podcast, had said this. And he said, quote, I forgot the team we were playing, but the ref called a foul on me, and he was facing the table, putting the number in. Donaghy was way on the other side of the court, and he hits me with a technical. This shocks everybody. I didn't say anything or dispute the call. He said I threw the ball at the ref. I said, what are you talking about? Then he calls another technical on me, and I'm ejected, unquote. So, some players were sort of suspicious about Donaghy, and, those suspicions were accurate. He ended up in prison.
Mm-hmm.
It was unprecedented at that time to have a pro sports arbiter, whether it be a baseball umpire, NFL ref, hockey linesman, or whoever, to be in cahoots with illegal gamblers. So it was a shock. And I'll say that when the FBI came in to tell the NBA about these accusations, Adam Silver was in the room. And Adam Silver became commissioner, I believe, in 2014, roughly. And at this point, people like David Stern railed against sports betting and illegal gambling and all this. And then Adam Silver, in a New York Times op-ed, came out and said, he came out and basically embraced legalized sports betting, which was unheard of. Every pro sports league had been railing against sports betting since the 1919 Black Sox scandal, and I would say that his, embrace, and then just to give a little more perspective, in 2018 the Supreme Court overturned a Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which meant any state could legalize sports gambling. And now, today, we have this sort of crazy world where sports bets are just up on the screen during every game you watch. Announcers talk about the sports bets. It's like chaos compared to what had been, which I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but I mean, Jimmy the Greek Snyder in the 1970s.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be on the NFL Today on CBS, and he'd sort of hint at, who might win the game and this and that. It was like all that was allowed, but now it's in your face every moment of every game. And Silver, helped bring this about, I would say, just because he was the first commissioner to say, hey, let's do this. All these leagues want revenue, but they're taking a ton of revenue, millions and millions of dollars at the expense of what, could end their sports, because, you have those two Cleveland Indian pitchers who were intentionally throwing balls, so gamblers could win a prop bet. And you had the huge NBA scandal before that this year with a former player, and a Hall of Fame coach, all accused of improper activity. It's funny because you're just seeing this stuff more and more. It's not quite weekly, but it's very frequent allegations against players, coaches, and so forth. Whereas back in the day, it was like, well, Pete Rose was accused of a horrible, betting on baseball while he was managing and all that. But that was sort of a one-off. Then we went decades before any other sort of gambling scandal till the Tim Donaghy one. But now it just happens a ton every year, which should be very worrisome for any pro sports commissioner and any owner. Like, if these games are not considered, like you said earlier, like if the part of the joy of the reality sports TV type thing is you don't know the outcome. If some of these players or refs or coaches know the outcome in advance, that ruins the whole thing. It just falls apart.
Right. If you're going to tell me it's scripted, just tell me how it's going to end.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
It's like we're watching. Yeah. Why am I watching this for 3 hours?
Right.
If we already know the outcome, just let me know. So, I can just skip to the part where, oh, this is when it happens. Like, oh, this is how it's going to end. Yeah, it's scripted.
Right. Yeah. So that's the danger. And sports, is such, 93 of the top 100 TV shows in, every year basically are NFL games. And that's, people love sports. People will do anything to watch sports and be a fan and go to a game based on, they want their team to win. It's all above board. But you take that away, the whole industry collapses.
Yeah, that's the reason why, as fans, we go to games. You want to go through the roller coaster of emotions with your team, right?
Right.
And you go through the highs and lows. There's going to be moments where it's this great moment, and then there's lows. But it's part of the fan experience. But once you take that away, and it becomes, now it's going to be like a Hollywood scene, and it's going to take you 3 cracks at this moment, then it ruins that roller coaster of emotion, because now it's just a stale movie that you're watching. Yeah.
Right. Good point. Good. That's a good way to put it.
And going back to Jimmy the Greek, I am old enough to know Jimmy the Greek. I was watching this documentary on the CBS Sports pregame show, and they did a segment on Jimmy the Greek, and they said the reason why they started in pregame, they always wanted a shot of the stadium before each game. Not because they wanted the fans to see what the weather looks like. It's for the gamblers to see
Really?
if the field's going to be, is there's going to be snow at this game, or is it going to be rain? The field conditions matter
That's
before
fascinating.
they bet. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why they specifically tell the CBS crew, make sure we get a shot from Philadelphia, make sure we get a shot from New York, because we want to know what the
That's
conditions
fascinating.
are. Right?
Because
Yeah.
and obviously that's before you had the internet or anything
Before
else.
the internet,
Before
exactly.
you'd have to call a friend in every city to find out
Right.
what the weather was, and telephone charges were pretty high back then.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
Now you can just get on your phone and figure out the
right.
weather, what it's going to
Anywhere.
be. Yeah,
Yeah,
everywhere. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So
That's
that
fascinating. I had not known that.
no, yeah, that's why the CBS, not to CBS, but all the network were showing
Right. Wow.
pregame stadium, in-game stadium, the conditions at the stadium
Right.
with wind, snow, rain. Yeah, it matters, because
Okay. Oh yeah, totally.
it might convince some bettors to swing their bet one way or
Yeah,
the other. Yeah.
no doubt.